Anybody can enjoy. We are already enjoying. So we are not losers in any way. What at max what we missed out is the miserable enjoyments that you are having. You understand miserable enjoyments? Hmm? Enjoyments that come with a price tag and a side effect are called miserable enjoyments. So that's all that we avoided. Now, my question to you is this, sir. What if at the time of your death you realize that there is God and there is spiritual world and you are not this body, you are spirit soul? Then what will you do? Will that not be too late to get to know at that point of time? So in this way, it's a win-win either way. Even if there is no Krishna spiritual world, still the culture and the gratification that Krishna consciousness offers is far superior than material life. It's a positive alternative. And in case Krishna is there, well, he is there, then तो सोने पे सुहागा, घी में शक्कर, दूध में शक्कर. We got both. We got enjoyment here also, and after we die, we go back to spiritual world and continue enjoyment there also. One time, one devotee asked, "But Swamiji, why these devotees keep telling sense gratification is bad, and you should not enjoy your senses? It is so miserable to hear that." So one sannyasi was telling, "See, you continue practicing Krishna consciousness, you will later on realize that Krishna consciousness is nothing but sense gratification." Full scale sense gratification कर रहे हैं लोग बैठ के, legitimate, God authorized, best category, far better than materialistic people what they can enjoy, and two benefits: you don't have to pay for it, and there are no side effects. He said, "Wow, that seems a good option." Now, so in any case, we should take to heart this wonderful knowledge called Atma Tattva, knowledge of the spirit soul. So, one repeated instruction you will hear here is Nanu Shochitum Arhasi. After knowing that you are spirit soul and not this material body, stop lamenting. शोक करना छोड़ दो. बार बार भगवान वही बात बोलेंगे. 4-5 श्लोक में आता है वो. 25 में आएगा, 26 में आएगा, आगे. नानु शोचितुम अर्हसि. Don't grieve, don't lament. Just like, sometimes children build castles on the seashore, पैर डाल के, थप्पी लगा के उसके ऊपर फिर उसके अंदर वो 2 BHK 3 BHK अंदर कुछ ये मेरा महल है, इसके अंदर के चेयर्स है, उसके ऊपर का शिखर है, फिर उसके ऊपर फ्लैग लगाया है, ये है वो है. एंड व्हाट हैपेंस, पेरेंट्स आफ्टर द वाइल, इवनिंग टाइम, अभी घर जाना है तो बोले चलो, बच्चे लोग आ नहीं रहे. देन द हाई टाइड कम्स इन द ओशन and is gone, and the child says, "Ah, मेरा घर फोड़ दिया," and parents laugh at him, ha ha ha, क्या फालतू चीज के लिए लैमेंट कर रहे हैं. Similarly, adults are big children. You understand what does that mean? Adults are big children, so they have their toys, Mercedes Benz, 5 BHK, and some this, that, and they build their whole empire, castle, all mental, and at the end of which material nature has its high tide, low tide business, Prakruti. She comes, and this fellow, is crying. No, it's the same thing. Nanu shochitum arhasi. Don't lament. Of course, I'm not saying that if you meet misfortune, we should not do anything about it, or we should wait for it, or we are not saying anything like that, or we should not safeguard ourselves from it. The point I'm saying is, whatever we are materially attached to, even this body itself, will be taken away. It's better that before that happens, we become detached and pursue our real goal of life, not getting carried away by useless attachments. That is the point. Life is preparation, death is examination. अभी हम सबका PL चल रहा है. पता है PL क्या होता है? प्रिपरेशन लीव. और जो एग्जाम आने वाला है उसका टाइम टेबल नहीं लगता है. It is always a surprise test. It suddenly comes and you say, "Hey, मेरा 5-6 चैप्टर बाकी है यार." आज का 2 माला बाकी है. तो डेथ ऐसे नहीं बोलेगा, आज माला कर लो थोड़े. उसके बाद लेके जाएंगे तुमको. It doesn't happen like that. So we have to be better prepared by regular practice. That's the essence. Text 26. अथ चैनं नित्यजातं नित्यं वा मन्यसे मृतं तथापि त्वं महाबाहो नैनं शोचितुमर्हसि. Translation.
However, you think that the soul or the symptoms of life will always be born and die forever, you still have no reason to lament, O mighty arm.
Krishna is height of everything. What he is saying, he takes a detour now. Sudden detour. So athacha, as soon as you have that now, word, that means just in case you don't like this philosophy, spirit, soul, indestructible, eternal, don't get materially attached, all that. You still believe that you are body only. Even if there is no soul. Now on that ground, Krishna is defeating Arjuna and saying that fight. Even if you believe there is no soul, you should still fight. It's an interesting argument. He says that this is an atheistic line of thought. It's not true, but it is just for an argument's sake, Krishna is saying. In case you still want to maintain that stand that you are this body and you are not soul, still that life is always born and dies forever, you have no reason to lament. Just like in some warfare, there are tons of chemicals that are formed into certain shapes, dropped on the enemy army and destroyed. Anybody laments कि इतने सारे chemicals destroy हो गए? Anybody laments like that? यार chemically तो है, what are you lamenting for? So even if we think from that point of view that okay, this body is all in all, and after this body is finished, everything is finished, still you should fight. Because by fighting you will get enjoyment, material enjoyment. So Krishna is taking an atheistic thought and turning it around. To give another example, this is a danger, chemical evolution theory in modern times. We come from chemicals, we remain for some time, and later on we get disintegrated, we vanish into oblivion. That is chemical evolution theory. How dangerous this theory is. Sometimes you may have a rival in your office who is doing some schemes plotting against you. Then one day you go and give him left and right bashing. And somebody comes and asks you, क्यों किया ऐसे? उसका chemical structure थोड़ा अच्छा नहीं दिख रहा था मेरे को, थोड़ा reshape कर दिया उसको बस मैंने. Can you say like that? Somebody says, my wife, she's a huge bag of chemicals. Why should I maintain? And she's ugly looking bag now. It's no more needed. Or can you imagine what kind of demeaning, very unhuman thought this becomes? Dealing with each other as chemicals, not as conscious beings. So it's a very dangerous thought, chemical evolution theory. So Krishna is defeating that. He says that, well, even if that were true, nobody laments that some chemicals got destroyed. So kill them. Enjoy your life, even at that cost. So that is called Vaibhashika philosophy, which Prabhupada explains in the purport. This is another. Chatasya hi dhruvo mrutyur dhruvam janma mrutasya cha tasmada pariharyerthe natvam shochitum arhasi. Translation. So this is, earlier was atheistic line of thought, this is karma line of thought, duty line of thought. Anyways, if you are born, you are going to die, and if you are dead, you are again going to take a rebirth. in due course of these happenings, you don't have to let go your discharge of duty, because that is what will help you become successful and happy. Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata avyakta nidhananyeva tatra ka paridevana. Translation.
All created beings are unmanifest in their beginning, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifest again when they are annihilated. So, what need is there for limitation?
Just like there is law of conservation of energy. You make a big skyscraper building using some energies in the universe. Then the building comes into existence, and after some years it gets dismantled, again merges into the totality of material elements. In either of the states, the energy remains constant. So, avyakta, vyakta, avyakta. Unmanifest, manifest, unmanifest. Again. Similarly, this body undergoes this construction, destruction business. Tatra ka paridevana. Why are you going to lament about this gain and loss? It is always remaining in its constituent elements. Now the last verse for the day, the amazing verse. Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidenam Ascharyavat vadati tathaiva chanyaha Ascharyavat chainamanya shrunoti Shrutvapyenam vedana chaiva kaschit. Translation.
Some look at the soul as amazing, describe him as amazing, and some hear him as amazing. Like others, even after hearing and obeying, cannot understand him at all.
Hare Krishna. It's an interesting way to conclude the topic. So this word Ascharyavat, amazing. This adjective can be applied to all the three things. It can be applied to the soul, to the people who are trying to perceive the soul, and to the process of seeing itself, vadati, pashyati, etc. So the subject, the object and the verb, इन तीनों को ये आप लगा सकते हो, adjective, and it has 9 different meanings. I hope you understand. So it can mean some amazing people actually try to see the soul. Some amazing people actually try to talk about the soul. And some amazing people try to hear about the soul. That's one way to describe. They are Ascharyavat people. Then earlier meaning is said. Amazing soul is heard about by some people. The amazing soul is talked about by some people. The amazing soul is seen about by some people. And the meaning that is here is this one. Some look upon the soul as amazing, some talk about the soul as amazing, and some hear about him as amazing. And even after all this, they don't understand anything about the subject matter. So, why people cannot understand the knowledge of soul? Very, very important reasons. If you have heard everything till now, in which you felt you theoretically understood the concept, but now you want to go deeper in this topic, then this discussion is important. There are many reasons why we cannot appreciate this knowledge. It begins from this paragraph, men with poor fund of knowledge. I am telling why even after hearing Atma Tattva, do we not appreciate and understand it? First reason, poor fund of knowledge and not austere in life. That is first reason. If after hearing this knowledge, we do not continue cultivating more knowledge about soul, we just let go the topic. We think, okay, kuch to hai, soul. Then we won't in due course of time gain full realization of soul. Another is if we don't become austere. Austere doesn't mean we have to fast and get our bodies emaciated and walk on fire and you know whatever. That is not the meaning of austerity. Austerity basically means to take on voluntary inconvenience in one's life to understand and practice spiritual culture, such as simple austerities, getting up a little early in the morning to chant 1 rounds. It's an easy austerity to do. Taking Krishna Prasadam, not just eating any and every food, but becoming little thoughtful about food habits. Or another austerity could be to try and stay in good company as far as possible and avoid bad company as far as possible. So these are the basic austerities one can take up. But if one does not take them up after hearing this knowledge, then what happens? This whole thing will get washed off in due course of time. Third reason comes little later. Illusioned by material energy. Where is that? Illusioned by material energy. People are so engrossed in subject matters of sense gratification, they have very little time to understand the question of self-understanding. Even though it is a fact that without this self-understanding, all activities result in ultimate defeat in the struggle for existence. So if we continue pursuing sense gratification instead of self-realization, we will miss out what we learned today. This knowledge will fizzle out. The next reason, some people who are inclined to hear about the soul may be attending lectures in good association, but sometimes owing to ignorance they are misguided by acceptance of super soul and the atomic soul as one without distinction in magnitude. What does that mean? आत्मा ही परमात्मा है, ऐसा अगर कोई मानने लगेगा, he'll again miss out on the point. Because Atma and Paramatma are one in quality, but Atma and Paramatma are different in quantity. Drop of ocean is like ocean in quality, but in quantity it is drop, ocean is ocean. So in quality we are Sachidananda, same as God. In quantity we are infinitesimal. So this has to be understood, otherwise we will miss the point. And last reason, it says in the purport, we should find a man who has actually derived full benefit from the knowledge of soul, that is our Guru, and who is able to describe the position of the soul in different aspects. Somehow or other, if you become able to understand the subject matter of soul, one's life becomes successful. Now, Prabhupada gives a conclusion. If you could not understand any of this, the easiest process for understanding self is to accept the statements of Bhagavad Gita spoken by the greatest authority without being deviated by other theories. It requires great deal of penance and sacrifice either in this life or in previous ones before one is able to accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna, however, can be known as such by the causeless mercy of the pure devotee and by no other way. So what's the last thing to help us understand knowledge of soul? The causeless mercy of a pure devotee of Krishna is the way we can understand this whole thing in no time. So we end here. Any comments or questions?
While I was once listening to a CD of Radhanath Swami Maharaj's explanations on what death actually is, he very beautifully explained death not as a symptom of or an explanation of leaving when the soul leaves this body, but actually when the soul engages so much in the new body that it forgets the old and loses all memory of the old body. So can you throw some light on this?
Well, that happens even in this life sometimes. People who want to go to America, they start living the culture of America here itself. You have seen that? They become language becomes Americanized, pants turn into Bermudas, hairs turn into punks, one kaan mein bali, and no, the symptoms of Americanized consciousness, which is going to eventually fructify into American culture practice, manifests here itself. So he's more American in Indian body than American people sometimes. You understand what I'm saying? He has become so focused on that culture to be cultivated, that he has lost his identity here completely. And that can happen. So in that context, death means that a person becomes, this is in context of a devotee becomes so absorbed in the spiritual body and the culture of that spiritual world while living in this body, that even though he's in this world, his consciousness is completely spiritualized. And because of that, when he quits this body and when he starts actually living that culture, he just doesn't get to know the difference. And that is why for a devotee, death comes as a cat that picks up a kitten and places it in another place. For the kitten, the jaws of the cat are like mama, very affectionate ones. But for a non-devotee who doesn't cultivate spiritual culture, it's like a rat being captured by the same jaws of the cat. And that's very painful. So death is like the cat. For a non-devotee, it acts like a cat upon a rat. But for a devotee, it acts like a cat upon a kitten. For the kitten, it is just a loving transfer from one place to another, where he is going to continue the loving relationship. So Krishna says, Mrityu sarvaharaschaham. Death I am, who takes away everything from you. That's the ghastliest form of Krishna. And so Krishna's purest form and Krishna's ghastliest form. Krishna is in magnitude great everywhere. Positive side, negative side also. And that is why we don't have to see that feature of Krishna at all as devotees. We just get transferred back to spiritual world. So a devotee closes his eyes here and he wakes up there and he's already there in the spiritual world serving Krishna, which he was anyways doing here while in this world. So that is the understanding. Death is a beautiful experience for a devotee. But for a non-devotee, it is a very frightening experience. Okay, so we end here. Thank you all very much.